I suppose I should have known better than to pry. At the time, I thought I was merely being a bit intrusive, perhaps slightly insensitive, by invading my wife's privacy. I told myself that my intentions were good, noble even. When I stumbled upon her diaries, I convinced myself that peeking into them might reveal some hidden desire, something secret that would help me come up with the perfect gift for our 15th wedding anniversary. At first glance, the discovery didn't offer much inspiration. However, after reading through them, I did eventually find an idea for her anniversary gift. But executing that idea? Well, that took me some time, quite a bit of time, in fact. It wasn't something I could put together overnight. It ended up taking nearly 5 years to come to fruition. Before I get into the details, I should provide some context. Let me start from the beginning. Sandy, James, and I had been close friends in high school. Sandy and I were deeply in love and discovered the joys of intimacy earlier than most. Unfortunately, we weren't as quick to learn about contraception. By the spring of our senior year, Sandy was pregnant. Our parents were understandably upset. In their wisdom, or perhaps desperation, they whisked us out of town to get married in a small, quiet civil ceremony. The service was attended by only our parents and the two of us. At the time, both of us had just turned 18, but the repercussions were still daunting. If the school had found out about the pregnancy, we would have been expelled. To avoid that, we kept it a secret until after graduation. It wasn't the most glamorous start to a marriage, but we were excited about becoming parents. What we didn't anticipate, however, was the surprise awaiting us, a baby. Or rather, babies. We were having twins, one boy and one girl. Thankfully, Sandy's father was able to secure me a job with his construction crew. The work allowed me to provide for my new family, albeit modestly. Over time, I worked my way up and eventually became a crew leader. This promotion gave us the financial stability to purchase a home in a working-class neighborhood. It wasn't luxurious, but it was ours. Life was busy. I put in long hours at work while Sandy dedicated her time to raising our children. Socially, our lives revolved around the kids. Birthday parties and school events became our primary outings. Occasionally, when our parents offered to watch the twins, we'd enjoy a rare night out together. Despite the chaos, we managed to maintain an active and fulfilling sex life. During the winter months, I took night classes, determined to better myself. After years of effort, I earned an associate degree in business management. When the kids reached high school, I received a promotion to regional manager, which significantly improved our finances. My work schedule also became more predictable, though it came with a trade-off: frequent trips to the main office for meetings. These trips often required me to be away for 3 or 4 days every other month. As the twins grew older, Sandy decided to pursue her own career. She earned her real estate license and joined Henderson Realty, a large firm that sold several homes my construction crew had built. Although she didn't make much money initially, Sandy found immense joy in her work. It wasn't just a job, it became her passion. Even when she had to work off the clock, she didn't seem to mind. The summer before the twins began their freshman year, Sandy and I were approaching our 15th wedding anniversary. I had been saving money for months, determined to do something special. The problem was, I had no idea what to get her. One Saturday, while Sandy was attending a fashion show and the kids were out, I found myself alone at home. Desperate for inspiration, I decided to explore her closet, hoping to find clues about what might make her happy. I sifted through her clothes and jewelry, trying to imagine what she might want or need. Nothing stood out. Then, I noticed her jewelry box. It was a modest collection, nothing extravagant. Perhaps, I thought, a diamond tennis bracelet would be a fitting gift. As I returned the box to its place in the drawer, I felt resistance. Something was preventing the box from sliding back completely. Curious, I reached into the back of the drawer and pulled out 3 small, leather-bound books. Each one was secured with a tiny flap and lock. It didn't take long for me to realize what they were, her diaries. Until that moment, I had no idea she even kept one. She never mentioned them, nor had I ever seen her writing in them. That should have been my first clue. They were private, and I had no business reading them. But curiosity is a powerful thing, and it's always been one of my weaknesses. I rationalized my decision to read them by convincing myself it might give me a better idea for her anniversary gift. Surely, that made it okay, didn't it? With that flimsy justification, I opened the first diary and began reading. The entries in the earlier diaries were innocent enough. They were filled with memories of our children's milestones and musings about motherhood. The third diary, however, was more recent. It chronicled her journey to pass the real estate exam and secure a job at Henderson Realty. Sandy wrote about her initial nerves, her first showing, and her gratitude toward Brad Henderson, the owner's son, who had guided her through her first sale. It was in these pages that everything changed. Sandy's descriptions of Brad became increasingly detailed and personal. She wrote about his deep blue eyes, his athletic build, and a smile she described as panty-melting. The words cut through me like a knife. As I continued reading, my world shattered. Sandy's diary revealed an affair, one that spanned a year. The entries chronicled how Brad had eventually seduced her. Their relationship only ended because Brad moved away to manage one of his grandfather's resorts. From that moment, my perception of my wife, and our marriage, was forever altered. Most of her diary entries were simply accounts of her work or reflections on childhood memories. As the children were preparing for graduation, she wrote about how she looked forward to traveling with me and enjoying life together at last, referring to me as her wonderful, attentive, and loving husband. Those exact words nearly made me vomit. The day finally came when we picked up the kids and returned home, officially becoming empty nesters. Pretending to care for Sandy over the years had taken a toll on me. In the beginning, I shed plenty of tears but eventually grew numb. Sure, I continued to have sex with her for fun, but it was nothing more than that, just sex, without any love. Although our physical intimacy had slowed to almost nothing, Sandy was still receptive and sometimes even initiated it. At that point, though, I only cared about my pleasure, not hers. That summer, we packed up Sandy's large SUV with an absurd amount of stuff, including junk strapped to the roof, for the 2-hour drive to drop the kids at their campus. During the drive, we chatted about life. "James, can you believe our little ones are heading off to college?" she said wistfully. "It feels like just yesterday I was changing their diapers." "Yeah, those early years flew by," I replied. "But it's nice to see them excited for what's ahead." "Oh, James, I'm so excited for us to start this next chapter too," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Think of all the time we'll have to ourselves now. I want to travel, enjoy life, and really focus on us again." "Well, Sandy," I responded with an equally cheerful tone, "I'm definitely excited about this next phase. I can't wait to explore exotic places with my beautiful companion." Sandy grinned, kissed me on the cheek, then leaned back in her seat and dozed off. She woke up as I pulled the car into the garage. "Oh my gosh," she said, yawning. "I can't believe we're already home." "Yes, you are home," I replied as I stepped out, grabbed my 2 suitcases from the trunk, and placed them by the car. Sandy frowned in confusion. "Wait, did the kids forget to unpack something?" Just then, a smaller SUV pulled into the driveway, and a young, attractive woman stepped out, waving in my direction as she opened her trunk. "No," I said, picking up my bags and carrying them to her vehicle. "These are my bags." Sandy stood frozen, watching as I set the bags in the SUV. I turned and kissed the woman on the lips. Sandy's voice trembled. "James, what the hell is going on?" "Sandy," I began calmly, "I'm sure you remember Caroline from my office. She's here to pick me up. We'll be back in 3 weeks." Her face twisted in shock. 3 weeks. What are you talking about? You didn't mention any business trip. Caroline walked over and handed Sandy a large envelope. These are the divorce papers, she said. I suggest you get a lawyer to review them. James has been fair, but it's best to have legal counsel. Sandy's jaw dropped. Divorce? What do you mean divorce? Is this some kind of joke? It's not a joke, I said firmly. Caroline and I are going on a 2-week cruise and then spending time at a romantic island resort. We have a plane to catch. Are you out of your mind? Sandy yelled. We're married. You can't just run off with her. She's not a fling, I replied sharply. It took years to even kiss her, but she was worth the wait. Now, I need to go. As we prepared to leave, I told her, while we're gone, the movers will be transferring my belongings to Caroline's place. My lawyer can address any questions you have. Tears streaming down her face, Sandy begged, James, please don't do this. I love you. We've been together for nearly 20 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I turned to her, my voice cold. It did, Sandy. I loved you with all my heart for 15 years. I gave you everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You had to chase your delightful guilty pleasures. Her hand flew to her mouth as recognition dawned. You read my diaries, she whispered. Oh my God. James, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. Please don't do this. I kissed Caroline and turned to Sandy one last time. You had your delightful guilty pleasures. Now it's my turn to enjoy a few of my own. Epilogue. Sandy tried to fight the divorce, denying any affair with Brad and insisting I was crazy for leaving her. Fortunately, I had photos of her handwritten confessions, which I shared with our kids, exposing the truth. Despite her attempts to delay, the divorce went through, though it cost me a significant amount. By then, I was living with Caroline, who did her best to help me heal, both emotionally and physically. Sandy requested one final meeting after signing the divorce papers. She began apologizing, but I cut her off and asked the only question I cared about, why? Her voice broke as she confessed, I was selfish. I was flattered by Brad's attention and convinced you'd never find out. It wasn't love, just lust and the thrill of the forbidden. I'm so ashamed of what I did and devastated by what it cost me. I hope you can forgive me someday. I responded, Sandy, I'll always love you for the 15 good years and our 2 amazing children. But for the last few years, I've hated you more than I can express. Maybe, in time, I'll forgive you, but don't hold your breath. As I left, I heard her sobbing. By the time the kids graduated, I had mostly moved on, thanks to Caroline. At their party, Sandy showed up with her new boyfriend. He seemed decent, and I told her I was glad to see her moving forward. When I hugged her and said I forgave her, she burst into tears and ran off. Caroline, overhearing the exchange, hugged me tightly and said, that was sweet, but don't even think about giving her any more chances. I laughed and kissed her. Don't worry. Your pleasures are all I'm interested in now.